Max. Come on. Come on. So I'm out for a bit of a walk with Max, the professional idiot dog. Max, say hello. Max, say hello, Max. Say hello. Yes, there we go. There's Max saying hello. So yeah, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we've had some very weird weather. It's the 1st of May today, and 1st of May it should be, well, like it is right now. Nice and sunny and warm. It's very early in the morning, so I say very early, it's about 9 o'clock, but sometimes that feels like very early to me. But yeah, so the weather's weird. Yesterday we had a month's worth of rainfall in one day. This morning glorious clear sunshine, and this morning, first thing in the morning, thick ice all over everything. Weather is weird. It should not be like this. When I didn't write the last blog, it makes it sound like I put some kind of effort into it. When we did the last blog, it was 26 degrees, which obviously in itself is kind of loony. So the big question is, what's the weather going to be like in Andorra, right? And by extension Slovenia as well. We'll talk about that briefly, but the weather in Andorra, generally speaking, is that up there, that. Had to put Max back on the lead because can you see behind me? This is actually an airfield we're walking on, and there's gliders just over there, over my shoulder. That's some gliders which will take off in a little bit. So I've had to pop him back on the lead for the moment, unfortunately. But yeah, the weather in Andorra, generally speaking, is blue and sunny and warm, if not hot. You don't need to worry about getting sunshine in Andorra. It's not the Alps. The Alps, very unpredictable. You have quite big variations of temperature in the Alps, and that doesn't happen in Andorra. In fact, Andorra doesn't even get the same weather as most of the rest of the Pyrenees, because it's got a microclimate. So when we talk about microclimate, what we're talking about is the fact that Andorra really consists of 3 big valleys that all point pretty much directly towards Barcelona. And what happens is the weather comes up off the Mediterranean at Barcelona, floats in the general direction of the Pyrenees, and eventually what will happen is it gets up to Andorra, and because of the big ridge of mountains at the back of Andorra, it's one of the highest points of the Pyrenees, you've got an awfully high ridge that runs across the top, and that traps the weather that's coming in, which is coming in at a relatively low altitude basically from Barcelona and nice and warm, traps it against this physical barrier of the mountains, and beyond that, the other side of the Pyrenees is France. And the French side of the Pyrenees, just over the border, is massively unpredictable because you've got lots of bad weather coming from the north, meeting the good weather coming up from the south in Spain. So what happens? Well, that Andorran weather front moving up to the back of the Pyrenees gets stuck on our side of the mountains. And no word of a lie, you'll probably see it at some point during your holiday. You get to the top of a ride like Skyfall, and you'll look over and you can see into France, because we're riding along the French border for a lot of that ride. And what happens is that you'll look to your right and there'll be thick, claggy, horrible cloud below you, which probably is a strong indication that actually it's raining in the French side, just over, literally a few hundred meters from where you're stood. And then you look at the view behind you back into Andorra, and lo and behold, nothing but blue sky and sunshine. And that's what happens. Basically, most of the shitty bad weather is stuck in France on the French side of the Pyrenees, just a few miles away. And on our side, it's perfect blue skies and lovely weather. So that's generally our typical weather pattern, and that happens from the start of June right through to October really, but really it's very predictable right through to the end of September. So you can expect something nice. Sit. Lie down. No, lie down. Lie down. No. Try that again. Give me a paw. No, that's lying down. Oh my God, you're so stupid. Roll over. Okay, that was rubbish. Right. Speak. Speak. Say, I'm an idiot. Say, I'm an idiot. Say, I'm an idiot. Okay, ready? Ready? Ready for a biscuit? What's this? What's this? Oh my God. It's a biscuit. It's a biscuit. Speak. Lie down. Lie. Sit. 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 Down. Ready? What clothes should you bring with you because of this apparently almost guaranteed glorious weather? Well, first of all, the mountains of Andorra are big and green and full of very pretty rivers and waterfalls and lakes and stuff. There you go, that's got it. Now obviously you can't have big green waterfall and lake-filled mountains without there being some rain. So obviously sometimes it does rain. Now that's not to say it's going to rain. In fact, the very strong likelihood is that you're going to have, like I say, an extremely dry experience. In, I think it was 2015, from the 1st of January until the 30th of September, there was 0 rainfall in Andorra. 0. Not even 1 millimetre. Nothing. And that sounds like some kind of crazy weather weird exception to the rule, right? Well, no, not really. What tends to happen is that we get to June, you might get the odd day here and there in June where the weather is a little bit damp, 1 or 2 days. But by the time you get to mid-June, if you get any rain, you're very, very unlucky. However, that doesn't mean that you don't need to plan for every eventuality. And I can't stress this enough. We get loads of people who turn up without any kind of jacket at all. They didn't even bring one on holiday. Andorra is not Spain. It's not southern Spain. It's not the Costa del Sol. So there is still a chance of some kind of precipitation. So yeah, it could rain, even though it probably won't. The vast probability is that you're going to have a dry, sunny week where your main problem is genuinely going to be dust. Yes, that's correct. In Andorra, one of the biggest trail issues we have is too much dust. Sounds good, right? So anyway, the issue is that you need to have the ability to defend yourself against bad weather should it arise. So please bring a waterproof jacket and carry it with you. Okay, that's my school teacher bit. Because, okay, let's say it doesn't rain, but let's say you're up at 2,700 meters at the top of Skyfall, which I was just talking about, and someone has a major mechanical, or God forbid, has some kind of first aid related oopsie, and you're sat by the side of the trail. It's, let's say, 10:30 in the morning. You've just got to the top of the highest point of the ride, like I say, 2,700-ish meters, and when you were in town in La Massana, you were very high up there as well. You were at 1,300 meters, but the top of Skyfall is 1,400 meters higher than that. So every 200 meters you go up, you're going to lose about a degree. So let's say it's 10 o'clock in the morning in La Massana, and it's first thing in the morning, so it's 15, 16 degrees, or maybe in the middle of summer 20. So you go up 1,400 meters, lose 7 degrees straight away, immediately, just because of the height. So that, let's say, 17 balmy degrees in town first thing in the morning in La Massana is 10 degrees at the top of the mountain. You're at the top of a mountain, and as I mentioned earlier, sat on top of a big ridge which goes over to France. Gets a bit windy up there, so add in the wind chill, suddenly you're into single figures. Suddenly not quite so balmy, right? Then you're sat there for, let's say, half an hour while we try to work out how to fix your spondingler that's broken, and you're getting colder and colder and colder. So, you know, ideally we wouldn't be sat around there for that amount of time, but, you know, stuff happens, doesn't it, right? So let's say we sit there for 20 minutes, it's 8 degrees, you're going to be wishing you'd taken a coat, aren't you? So please bring a jacket. Max, why'd you have to wee on everything? General clothing, make sure you've got enough stuff to get through the week. The least popular people are those people that try to get through the week on one jersey and one pair of shorts. Why? Well, because like I say, the vast likelihood is that it's not going to be cold or wet. The vast likelihood is that after the middle of June, it's probably going to be, as a minimum, British summertime temperature. So again, I always say this, we get people from all over the world, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean a lot to you, but in Britain, in the middle of summer, on a really, really nice day, it might hit, what, 25 to 30 degrees. Well, that's a pretty normal day in Andorra. 25 to 30 degrees is pretty much our expectation in midsummer. And even at the top of the mountain, you're going to be quite comfortably into the 20s. Just walking through some nice slidey mud here, which is why I'm slithering around all over the place. Bizarrely beautiful day, but yesterday's rainfall has made things somewhat sloppy, as you can see. So yeah, so it's going to be hot. So yeah, like I say, you need to be prepared to be wet stroke cold in an unusual situation, but the usual situation is actually you're going to be baking and working a bit as well. And those people who do genuinely think, oh, I'm gonna save myself a few quid on luggage, I'm just gonna take hand luggage, and they take, you know, 3 pairs of socks, 1 pair of shorts and a jersey, and they try and ride all week in 1 set of gear, and you're gonna sweat a lot. So please bring enough stuff for regular changes of clothes. Bring both long and short sleeve jerseys, because like I mentioned up the top, it's chillier, especially first thing in the morning. And enough socks, inner shorts, a couple of pairs of outer shorts. I mean, I personally, if I was packing for one of our trips, I would take probably minimum of 3 short sleeve jerseys, 2 long sleeve jerseys, a set of inner shorts for every single day of the week, because couple of pairs of shorts, outers, fresh pair of socks for every day, and probably 3 pairs of gloves. The other question I'm forever getting asked by people is, what kind of helmet should I bring? Well, it's an enduro holiday if you're on a guided trip. If you're in the bike park, obviously it's primarily downhill. Now, oh, gate to negotiate. Hang on, Max, come here. Let's just get this bad boy open, shall we? There we go. And yeah, so helmets, yeah. Okay, the enduro trips are primarily about the downs. However, as I always say to people, the best bits of Singletrack are not necessarily going to be directly at the top of a lift or somewhere that we can access with a van. So we get you as high as we can by van. A typical day out with us really is you get a van uplift to the start of the ride somewhere very high and go from there. So let's say, taking the Skyfall example again, Skyfall, we drive you to the top of the highest road of the Pyrenees, which is 2,400 meters. And then we have to get up to 2.7, as I mentioned earlier. So you've got somewhere along the road about 250-ish meters of climbing. I know that sounds like bad maths, but it's because I'm rounding things up and down. So you're going to have to do some climbing at some point. And also during the course of the ride, you know, things undulate. It's not going to be just a descent. You know, we go up and down all day. We use lifts and vans to assist us wherever we possibly can. But that's not to say that we can always use lifts and vans to assist us. So that means that you could well be climbing, you know, a few hundred meters over the course of a day. Would you want to do any climbing in a full face helmet? Personally, I wouldn't. Sure, you've got the more enduro focused full faces these days as well. And yeah, they're all good. However, they are still pretty hot things because you don't have a hell of a lot of ventilation in the top of them. So yeah, your face might have more air passing through to it. But those enduro helmets a lot of the time are more about visibility than they are about cooling. And like I said, 25 degrees, it's going to be a bit sticky going uphill. So you may not want to be in a helmet that doesn't give you adequate ventilation when you're getting a bit sweaty. Sure, yeah, when you go down, and that is most of the time, you're gonna get extra protection. But for me, whenever I'm guiding, I would do so in a open face helmet, so a regular enduro trail lid, and that means I can pedal up happily with it on if I need to. Sometimes I will take it off, to be honest with you, if it's something really draggy on fire road, like the climb to Skyfall actually, then yeah, sure, I'll take it off on that section. But then you get these undulating sort of techie single track climbs as well, which have little bits of up and down and over piles of rocks, and sometimes they're even exposed. You're not going to want to do those without a helmet on, and personally I'd rather therefore have a bit more air breathing around my head. Sorry, just looking for Max, he's over there now. Yeah, I'd rather have a bit more comfort on those sections. And you know, I think a good enduro trail lid these days gives you a lot of protection. You'd be very unlucky to hit your face on a rock, I suppose, but at the end of it, it's very much a personal preference thing. And that's the message, is it is a personal preference thing. So when someone says to me, what helmet should I bring? I would always default to the answer of, personally, I'd bring a trail lid, but it's up to you. It's same as the other question we get asked all the time, which is, what pressure should I run my tyres at? Well, hey, you know what? How long is a piece of string? And that isn't me being facetious in any way, shape or form. Genuinely, tyre pressure is an entirely personalised thing. It's about your bike, it's about the tyres you run, it's about your suspension and its inherent settings. It's about all kinds of stuff that affects how much how much air you need in your tyres. And the same thing is the same thing with your helmet. You know, if you are someone who gets hot and sweaty when you're in a full face helmet, you're going somewhere hot, maybe that's not the best move. However, if you're someone who feels really exposed without a full face helmet, then maybe that is the right decision for you. For me, it's not, but for you, maybe it is. So it's up to you. And these days, increasingly, we see people who bring both. If you want to bring both, hey, bring both. It's just, you know, how much does an open face lid weigh? A few hundred grams. It's not going to make an awful lot of difference to your luggage allowance. Just stick it in your suitcase, fill it with socks, and you know, you've barely lost any space in your case whatsoever. So if you want to bring both, bring both. A lot of people have seen the magazine images of Andorra, and now with Slovenia as well. And people say, hey, well, yeah, but you're always going to choose the sunniest photos with the nicest skies and blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, those images you've seen of Andorra are entirely representative of the weather you can expect to experience. It's going to be hot and sunny. 98% certain it's going to be hot and sunny, as opposed to along here, which, yeah, this isn't hot and sunny. This is I've been riding along here. Looks like a Maxis Ardent to me, I think. Sad. Yep, sad. the weather in Slovenia is, when I visited last year, was supremely hot and sunny until one day when we went up to the top of a trail that we're calling Red Alert, which not everyone will make it to the top of, because I'm not exaggerating when I say it's probably one of the most intimidating trails I've ridden in a very, very long time, anywhere ever. And anyway, we went to the top of the lift, beautiful blue sunshine at the bottom. Couldn't see the top of the mountain because the lift went over a lip. Got off the lift at the top in thick cloud, and it was bloody freezing. I mean, it was like 20 degrees at the bottom first thing in the morning. By the time we got off the lift at the top, it was 4 degrees probably. So just goes to show that you can't guarantee good weather wherever you go. So you need to be prepared in Slovenia in exactly the same way as you do in Andorra. It's just that in Andorra you're highly unlikely to need to use the extra clothing you bring with you. In Slovenia you've got a very slightly higher percentage chance, but to be honest with you, Slovenia was really dry and sunny as well. And according to my various Slovenian friends, who obviously spend most of their time in Slovenia, apparently Slovenia, generally speaking, throughout the summer months and right through to even November, it can be hot and sunny. So you've got a very high percentage chance of good weather in Slovenia as well, but just not quite to the extent that you have in Andorra. Andorra is as close to guaranteed sunshine in big alpine style mountains as you will ever get. It's not guaranteed, because I'm not giving anybody a guarantee of that nature, but suffice to say that the chances are you aren't going to be seeing a lot of bad weather on one of our holidays. So yeah, smiles all around. Quick final summary and then I will stop talking. I'm going to try to intersect this video with a few pictures of Andorran weather, just so you can see that we ain't lying. It's not all just what you saw in the magazine articles. Genuinely, it is like that. It is genuinely great weather nearly all the time. However, bring enough clothes. Bring multiple jerseys because you're going to get hot and sweaty. Bring multiple sets of shorts, particularly inner shorts, because hey, we've all got to get in a bus together and nobody wants to put up with that, okay? So lots of regular riding gear. Bring with you whatever helmet you're most comfortable with, but personally I'd recommend a trail lid for an enduro trip as a bare minimum. If you want to bring a full facer, bring one. Hey, what's the big news? Finally, bring a jacket, and that jacket needs to be in your pack, not under the bed in your hotel room, please, because hey, really, what's the point of bringing something all that way and then leaving it behind in the hotel? Because you know, you can't really plan what you need to have in your pack if you're planning for something that's unexpected, right? So please please leave that that jacket in your pack all the time. Just fold it up, stick it in the bottom, keep it out of the way, sure, but you know, it's very, very possible you're going to want it at some point. Could even be that you just decide you want to sit in the bar for an extra hour at the end of the ride and it's a bit chilly there. Hey, you got your jacket, brilliant. Not so useful in any situation if you've left that jacket in your hotel room. So yeah, bring a jacket, please. Waterproof jacket is a necessity almost anywhere you go riding. Even when I used to ride and guide every week in Spain for years, you need to have a jacket. You can't. It's just one of those things. I'm sorry. It's not a big thing that takes up loads of space in your pack. Just bring a lightweight, shower-proof as a minimum, and just have it on you. And yeah, that's about it in terms of clothes. We touched briefly there on the word pack, and I'm going to go through packs in one of the next couple of blogs as well, because knowing what you need to carry in your pack, and by extension maybe some medical stuff as well, which I think we mentioned back in blog 1, is very, very handy. It's very sensible to be well prepared, and obviously it's our job to do that kind of stuff. So I'm sure we can give you some sage advice and tips on what to have in a pack, as well as a waterproof jacket. So for the time being, we're going to finish off this dog walk. He's getting very fed up because today I struggled to get him off the lead because of the fact that they were flying around the airfield, then they were cutting grass on the golf course, and then back down this track I've just walked up. It was full of ducks, and Max is a bit of a fan of birds, so he spent most of this walk on the lead, unfortunately. But hey, it's a little bit like a waterproof jacket, I suppose. You have to put up with these things at times. See you next time. Come on, get your tootsies wet. Yes, there we go. Max. Yes, you can't drink, can you? You don't know how to do it. You're a weirdo. Yes, bite the water. Weird. Very weird dog. Come on, donut.